Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of Zelda Let's Play here on the Heavy Basics channel. Today we are taking our first dungeon of the game, the East Palace. Basically the East Palace is like your tutorial dungeon, established as this showed off the majority of what the Super Nintendo could do, and as a vast upgrade to the original 8-bit dungeon tower on Zelda 1 and 2. Your first opponents are these weird things called poposes, blue and orange things that are pretty easy to kill once you hit them with sword. Across the bridge, press that switch there. Now, here's the first grueling challenge, which is a gauntlet, which is being blasted by cannonballs. It's an interesting little predicament, but I think you are guaranteed to not take a hit, because I think you're going to have to take a hit in order to cross that, so be mindful. Anyway, before we move on to the next room, which is above, we can find there's a secret area here, which you don't normally see. What happens here, of course, is get yourselves that. Head towards, of course. That was, of course, the 100 rupees that you saw there, which is a secret. A lot of people ignore that. Just make sure you don't ignore it. 100 rupees is very useful. Now, beginners would go this. Now I'm going to show you the beginners route, which is, of course, going right. Veterans would actually just go to the left, but of course we're not going to go left until later. We introduce ourselves to the Staphos, which are basically skeletons. The Staphos is a long-established enemy in the Zelda canon, and they are alongside Kisses and of course a lot of other guys. They're the main established ones. In Ocarina of Time, there are a better version of Staphos, which includes a big ones, which can be established as mini-bosses. Anyway, beat the Staphos in the previous room, you get towards the switch. Hit the switch in the middle, you go down south. Pick up this treasure chest here to find the dungeon map. The dungeon map is basically your basic map. It's a vast improvement from the original, since it was just basically 8-bit spots. So, what can I say? There's a lot of things going here. Anyway, moving straight on. Well, now we can go left, where you're supposed to go, which is, of course, left. Now we just press that switch here. Now, here you'll take on 4 Staphoses. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using the boomerang, it's kind of simple. Staphoses in this game jump away from when you swipe them with the sword. I'll probably show you later on, but if you smack them repeatedly with the boomerang, they will not jump away, and they will take the hit. I mean, it's a long one, but it is better off. And see, if you hit them with a sword, they jump backwards. You can actually, if you don't want to use the boomerang, you can actually force them to jump to a position where you can actually hit them. Anyway, also another alternative method of killing a Staphos is to smash them with a jar. Very powerful way of doing so. It pretty much kills them. There's a bomb there. Everyone knows bombs are useful. So pick this up. Let's smash the last one here. Beating this will give you another treasure chest, which is rewarded with you with the compass. The compass allows you to pinpoint the changes in this game, because in the original it's supposed to pinpoint the treasure chests in the dungeon. I think it's from the original, but I'm not sure. But I think it pinpoints the evil boss's lair. Anyway, if you notice the green, huge gargoyles in the back of the room, they are called Igors. They're very strong. They're very strong, except for when you strike them in their big eye gauge. That is how you kill them. Or you can use another item that we'll be picking up later on in this dungeon in order to do the effectiveness. So, now we beat that, we go right from the room that we were in and head towards the back and up the steps here. Go for the south door and you'll find a darkened room. This darkened room will pretty much have to do so. Take out the popos there and hit that switch here and go right into this room. A very darkened room where you have no idea where you are. Hidden in this is a very useful item, which we're going to be picking up anytime soon. Which is this key here. The key is very important. You're about to find out why. Let's get out of that room and let's go back the way we came. We have to avoid the Staphos here. Right. Through the locked door that we used the key for, we're now back at the beginning room, but this time, we are overhead. Head towards the left room here and you'll find a very large room containing a lot of enemies, and including these magic enemies that we saw earlier called the pink enemies, which sap magic. I have no idea what the official names are, but if I can come back to you in the later part, they're pretty much the most annoying enemy in this game. Bar none. They are evil. And once you kill all the enemies, they are loose. The problem is they take a hard capsule away, and you lose a bit of magic. They always go to corner positions, and they're very hard to beat because technically you don't have the need to beat them. And I'm down 2 life already. Back here, we go back to the beginning room where you can push a block up here. We're back to the tile room. Tile room takes us back to the main room here. Take us back to that. Fortunately for this one, folks. Now that we have the big key, we can now, I mentioned before, that room there with the pink things contains a very important item that we can pick up later on. In fact, we're going to do that right now. Your reward for picking up the big key earlier is the bow. The bow and arrow is possibly one of the staples Link's most powerful weapons. In this game, he faces these enemies are very tricky. They are staffloses that pretty much disintegrate when you yeah, pretty much. We're pretty much disintegrate. Anyway, here's a little bit of a secret here. I think you can take advantage of this. There, if you go down here, you'll find that there is a secret passage. You can use the butterfly net to catch a fairy. The fairy is a very important item. Very, very important. You probably noticed this is actually a second round recording. Either way, both of these pots here will go to the same room. And you can keep 2 fairies. Anyway, the story about the fairies is if you lose all your hearts, you will be resurrected. Anyway, moving on. Let's use the big key here to move on to the back room. We can move on to the next part. And there's a lot of enemies here. See? The most ideal way to kill an enemy in the eyeballs in this game is through bow and arrow. Here in this room, you'll find a secret room that contains more of these pink things. I still haven't got an official name, but... So... yeah, we're almost done with the dungeon, by the way. This is actually a pretty nice introduction. So when you get to the back room here, if you want a little bit of an issue, you can use the lamp here to actually light your way, which is a lot easier if you're struggling in the dark. These green eyegauls. That green eyegaull contains a key. This key takes us to this northwest door here, where you can climb up to the next floor. The next floor contains more boring but pink things. By the way, you're going to need the bow and arrows. It's very important to dealing with a boss. You're about to see why. More green eyegauls. And they're boring to boot. See that? That's a 10 item. It gives you 10 arrows. Very important. And we can still use these just in case your aiming kind of sucks. In order to open the door here, you need to hit the bottom one. And now, this cannon blasting room, you need to check everything. And I do mean check everything. These are bloody power cannonballs. Hit the top left one here, you'll move on to the next room. And then you move on to the final remnants. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the first indication of the red eyegaull. The red eyegaull is a stronger green eyegaull, except it takes 2 arrows to the eye instead of just 1. And a lot of other things as well. Several purposes. More things. We're going to need to heal because this is tricky. Take out the red eyegaull. Don't know what the fuck I was doing here. See? They do a lot of damage, the eyegauls, so you really need to just basically use arrows here. Arrows are very important. And now we're about to approach the boss of the dungeon. Say hello to our first foes, the Knights of Hyrule. Now, the Knights of Hyrule are actually very easy to beat. The only thing you can do is that you have to hit them. You have to suffer from piercing damage. And remember, there are 6 of them here, so you have to kill them. All of them. See what I mean? 3, 4, 5. The last one turns red because he becomes a lot more tricky to kill. However, you can time where he lands and hits them. And that's it. the end of the dungeon. You win your first this is a pendant. Or your first major quest item in the game. This game takes over because it introduces quest items which became a major part of the series. After every dungeon, you get a refill of both magic and hearts. Now let's get back to Sasamarala, or as I call him, the Elder of Kakariko. Let's go back to him. Now that we have the Pendant of Courage, he should give us something and let us learn more of the story of the legend of the Hylian Knights. So now he'll tell you about the legend. Basically, the legend of this is there were an order of knights protecting the royalty of the Hylia. They were known as the Knights of Hyrule, guardians of the Pendant of Courage. Most of them were destroyed in the Great War against evil. This was the Sealing War, where the 7 wise men. They have been redubbed because they're now called the 7 sages. And basically, you are the last remnant of the bloodline of the knights, and your elder gives you the Pegasus shoes. Very powerful item, and I really do say it is a really strong item. It allows you to dash across the place. Also, you can now use the dash attack, which does a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Back here you get more bombs, and you get 250 rupee treasure chests. So, now that we're done here, folks, I think we're gonna wrap. Before we wrap things up, I have had the chance to realize that I have missed a heart container. A very simple heart container that we can now go get. You should have done this before we had the chance to go elsewhere. This will be your 9th heart container, I believe, if memory serves me correct. Otherwise, we will get a boost of 7 heart containers, and this is early in the game. Really good stuff. So, let's go back to where we came. This game does introduce heart pieces, which are crucial for side questing and to extend your life. Very important, I personally think. So now that we've completed this part, we can just now head back towards your house, but this time we're going south, into the marshlands or the swamp. And yeah, just get used to this overworld theme. It plays all the time. Well, except you're in the dark world. This is the light world theme. The dark world is more sinister. Now, in this room here, which is a very simple you can go get the treasure chest, which contains more bombs, obviously. Go back south, then go back in. Why, you may ask yourself, this is kind of simple. Push this one forward and then this one left. You'll head towards this room here guarded by another pink thing. Don't pull this left one because you'll be facing bombs. Pull this right one, you unleash the water. The water pretty much lets out, and it's just basically it's like a lock or a reservoir. In the what's left of the lake, you'll find another piece of heart, which is like that. And now that I think we are done here, by the way, that was a hornet I smacked. So I think we're almost done here for now. So anyway, in the next part of the Grand Legend of Zelda game, the next part, which is probably going to come at the end of the month, which is this month. Actually, it's right. I'm scheduling this for end of the month because I know for a fact that my computer's about to be replaced soon, and to be honest, I'm just about running out of time, so I have to get this done. And I really do mean I have to get this done. So, that is pretty much going to be it for this part. So, in the next part of the Legend of Zelda Let's Play of Link to the Past, we will now go back. We'll explore more of the western part.